How is it going, everybody across the land? It is Thursday night. It is time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, and we have so much to talk about tonight. Dynamite passed through the area, which always brings up the question, what is happening on the ground? So I have some very specific questions for the boss man, 2 Chains, tonight to get into to open the show. From there, Saturday night's main event made its big return with lots of things happening there, so we have a lot to break down on that. And Ring of Honor Final Battle happens this weekend in the Hammerstein Ballroom. Lots of stuff happening in pro wrestling. We're going to get into a lot of it in this next hour. Get ready, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need, that Big Gold Belt.
Hello, everybody. We are so glad you are with us here tonight as we get close to the end of the year on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. Busy times, lots of stuff happening as we approach the holidays, but we are not going to miss out on talking pro wrestling here tonight for the next hour. I am Will. The top right corner of the screen below me is Silly Celis. To the left of him on the bottom is the Giant Grab Jamal, and across from me on the upper left, 2 Chains, the boss man himself of Big Gold Belt Media, joining us here tonight. Gentlemen, how is everyone doing during this fine holiday season?
Actually, pretty good.
Doing good. Happy holidays all.
Next week.
Yeah, happy holidays to all.
We are almost there. I got 2 days left myself. I got to get through tomorrow, and I got to get through Monday. Then I'm a free man. But some of us like
hashtag shut it down. If you know,
exactly. Celis was already telling me before the show he's only got hours to deal with tomorrow, so he don't even got a full day. So I think he's the first one of us who's like he is ready, 1 foot out the door, all ready to go. Well, yes, all that will be going down. Yes, I mean, there's that time of the year, lots happening, keeping people busy. So we had stuff going on locally last night. A little local tie-in with the wrestling that hasn't happened in quite a bit. I guess SmackDown came through here a few months ago. Back in, I think, August or September. My daughter went to that. But AEW Dynamite last night happened to come from, what do they call it? Yeah, the Sports and Entertainment Complex where the Mystics play. Is that the name of that building? Something like that?
The Entertainment Sports Arena.
Entertainment and Sports Arena. I knew it was something along those lines. They've been there before. Last time they came through, they taped it out at George Mason, out at the former Patriot Center. So now they're back in the city. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Arena.
They call that now.
First time ever in Dynamite for that.
Yeah. So now they're back in the district proper where the Mystics play last night for a Dynamite, which I always got to. I haven't been personally since that first episode where we were all there for the first Dynamite 1 when they were at the big building, when they were at Verizon. Capital One. I'm taking it back with Verizon there. But last night they're at the Eagle at Entertainment Sports Complex. So here's my question to you, James, since you were there. Here's what I'm wondering. I'm not worried about no matches. I'm not worried about any of that kind of stuff. What was the vibe? Because AEW is in a weird place as we approach the end of the year. And I know the little bit I saw on TV, it came across a certain way. And I know some other people that were there who told me some things. But just in general, what was the vibe last night at Dynamite when you were in the building?
It is what it is. I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was any different from, I don't know. How long ago was it that we went, Jamal?
About 2 years. 2 years.
Damn, has it?
Yeah.
It didn't feel
because they went to Mason the last time they came here, and then we were there the last time before that.
Yeah. So it didn't feel no different on that note. For like the same amount of enthusiasm from the fans. Okay. And
so let me just ask. So the better question is, because I think the question that Rose really trying to get at is the internet is putting AEW in a box and suggesting that, well, they are moving to smaller arenas. They are trying to, create a more lively atmosphere than it actually is. But then when you get there, it's either 3/4 empty and they're only showing, just one section opposite the hard cam. how did it look? Because we've been in that arena before,
Mhm.
and so we have something to base it on since then.
Yeah.
And hell, Cody was there last time we were in that arena.
Yeah.
But now the question is, and everybody can agree that AEW is in a different place than they were a few years ago, as they should be. But does it still have that? I don't want to say magic, because there is no magic in a 5-year-old anymore. You're not a newborn. It's that's done. But does it feel electric like it did a few years ago, or is it just kind of settled and the new car smell has worn off? And if you like people, you're going to cheer for them. If you don't, you're going to, you're not. But does it just feel like a more of a ho-hum wrestling show versus say an NXT or a popular indie, or the cult that is WWE?
No, it's very much settled. And typical reactions from the folks you expect the reactions from. So I think like the whole portrayal online is if like it's going down, as if it's like going down like a creepy dark back road, and no one wants to.
Chairs on the Titanic is the feeling that people are.
Yeah, no, it's not there. It's just settled. If you wanted to come, you came, and they filled in for the people that came. The hard cam side was completely packed, and the hard cam, I'm sorry, the side that the hard cam was pointing at was completely packed. The hard cam side obviously is blocked off because you always block off camera areas.
Right.
I couldn't see under me. I was in the 200s, but the 200s went up to for the 3 sections of the 300. It went probably up to like maybe C, F, G, H, I, J, maybe like K, but everything else went to like F.
So it wasn't totally full.
Yeah,
but most of the upper
totally
decks,
full, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't
on
a ghost
TV,
town.
They had the upper deck so dark you couldn't tell what was going on up there. So that's why I was kind of curious. So that doesn't sound bad. That sounds like
it wasn't a ghost town.
Like what, maybe 3/4 full, maybe something like that.
I would say good, maybe like 85-90% full. I think for the seats available. For the seats available, yeah.
Well, that's a smaller building to begin with. So
right, so we're looking at 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Yeah, I heard that's exactly what it was. So yeah. So it was cool.
And that's a little bit more than New Japan.
The kids were happy. So
a little bit more than the New Japan wrestling show.
About the same.
Okay.
About the same as the New Japan wrestling show.
Got it.
Oh, I'll take that back. I take that back. No, because when New Japan came, not the last time because I didn't go, but the time before that, it was completely full, all the way to the top. Because I remember looking up, I was like, man, people all the way up there. So like, no. So like,
and to be fair, the last time they came, it was a pay-per-view. So I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Is Capital Collision always a pay-per-view?
I thought it was.
I thought it was too.
It has been. It has been.
So the one that was this year, I didn't go. I think that was Capital Collision
went this year. I went this year. It was probably about 2,500. It was about 2,500. It was some corner sections that weren't full, but everywhere in the main camera line was full.
Okay. Yeah. So
let's just say for the record, nobody gives this kind of scrutiny to WWE or anybody else when they come. But somehow
it's just really just not that serious, honestly. Right. People that wanted to go went, and for the people that went, they had a good time. And I think it was all ages, typical diehards. I saw some families. You saw obviously the section for the kids. So yeah, good time. Good venue for them.
And that's kind of what I was hearing, was that the people that were there were hot. They were really into it. It was, the way I heard it described from someone was like that they're not exactly an AEW fan, but they had the chance to go, and they had to give it credit that the crowd that was there was hot. And they weren't into what was going on. So that definitely was a good sign. And that's the thing. It's a smaller building, but as we've been seeing, I'd rather they be in a smaller building that's 85-90% full than a giant building where it's like they got maybe 35-40% of it full. So I like the move and them being in a more packed environment like that.
I'd rather them be in a smaller building with 85 to 90% fans than a smaller building with 85 to 90% casuals that just want to see a wrestling show, may or may not know what they're looking at, isn't really engaged in the product, definitely mad that they spent $9 on nachos and, are waiting to beat traffic during the main event.
So that definitely makes a difference too.
Exactly.
And I was thinking too, like, what does at this rate now, like when you go, you go. No, the venues do matter when it comes down to what venues represent in terms of like access and entry access, obviously merch sections and food and whatnot. Parking is another thing. So like that's why I think venues actually matter. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh my God, they didn't run the Verizon Center. This is a fail. And I think what happens is that people look at the amount of talent they have and they say like, well, this easily is talent that deserves to be in the arena each and every time. But you know, you got to be willing to adapt, and I think that's just okay. So you know, I have always enjoyed small, intimate venues, and I think that's because of the fact of like we've seen what NXT has been able to do with that. But then when I think about getting bigger, like, yeah, I like the big arena ones. They're fun when they are, but I also like those nice medium ones. Like NXT TakeOver Brooklyn is like that very sweet spot of like I feel like I'm at a big event, but it's not the most biggest arena, but like, you know, it feels like a pay-per-view vibe, and it obviously delivered as a pay-per-view vibe. The acoustics in there is done well, you know, it's just stuff like that. But like I'm definitely not about to be one of those stickers like they gotta run the big ones because the other brand does the big ones, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean they should have had it at M&T Bank Stadium. The AEW's fallen off.
There we go.
I mean, at this point, real quick though, at this point, do we ever see it come back to Capital One at all in the near future for
pay-per-view?
Yeah, and also I think like
it's none of their business model.
Yeah, exactly. About to say, like, listen, this may not be the best comparison, but like Lil Wayne was at the Fillmore. So
true.
Sometimes you just got to stick to what works at the time. That's one of the biggest artists in the world. And although he may not be able to, of course he could, but if they feel like, hey, maybe he's not at his hottest right now, let's just make sure we definitely secure a packed arena that just suffices for where we feel like his temperature is at right now. Nobody's going to complain that they went to see Lil Wayne at the venue. They say, I want to see Lil Wayne, period. So,
well, I mean, but that's also assuming that you're a fan of Mr. Carter. But it is to the point of like Lil Wayne selling out the Fillmore, which is a smaller venue, you know, 2,000, 3,000 people.
Nice venue.
Whatever. I mean, that can be fine by himself. But we're talking about, you know, 30-something plus year old Lil Wayne who hasn't really had, you know, doesn't have the steam that he used to have. And also, this isn't like a Hot Boys reunion, or this isn't like a New Orleans, you know, reunion. This isn't, you know, we're not, you know, this isn't Mystical's, you know, welcome home party or anything like that. This is
wait for the Super Bowl. Wait for the Super Bowl.
Well, good Lord. But this is just a Lil Wayne show, and that can be whatever it's going to be. So I don't discredit the product for being in an arena that is appropriately sized.
Yeah,
it's just that people have been encouraged to believe that bigger is better and more is better, and that if you're not running this, then you are doing a thing. But you know, but then again, that's not, you know, AEW has been different in that way. Not everything can be what it is, and you know, they're going to be at the Hammerstein this coming Saturday.
The whole weekend they're going to be there.
Yeah, so that's like a venue of note, you know, for wrestling and other events. So, you know,
am I tripping? Did NXT just run there?
NXT
hasn't run there yet.
Oh, okay. Where was the last NXT just at? Oh,
NXT
it was up
was
in ECW arena.
No. Just like last week, weren't they just up at
They were in Lowell this weekend.
Yeah, Lowell. That's right. I was like, I know that venue before I've been there. Yes, Lowell's. Yeah, okay.
And then the old ECW arena the month before, because they've been doing like 1 month. You know, once a month they've been outside.
Right. And listen, let me just keep the same energy right now and saying that, like, when you say an arena, and does the arena sell it for you because of the novelty behind it? For me, it doesn't in terms of watching it. But when you know that you can go to an arena that you even haven't been to, and it's, you know, state of the art, futuristic, or just been remodeled, or, you know, somebody who has credible and reputable like vendors in it, like, you know, baseball Nationals got, you know, hella good food options there, and you just know, like, going down the line, you just know which ones do and which ones don't. So, like, you know, that's what it is for me. So, like, to finish your question, Will, like, the arena itself, like, that area is definitely a story of its own. But like, food in there, yeah, you probably want to eat before you even get near the area. There's some advice for you. And then after that, like you got one merch stand, which I think is criminal because
that's dumb.
Regardless of the size of the venue, I think it just makes sense to have
for
merch
TV taping
on both
you can't
sides
have one
at
merch
least.
stand.
You know what I mean?
Both sides. Even if you have one inside, bring a trailer and have one outside. People are waiting for an hour and a half, 2 hours
for a shirt.
To get in the building.
Yeah.
And then,
true.
You know, you'd be selling stuff then. Yeah.
Exactly.
Program sold out within the first 40 minutes. So when it came down to you getting your local like memorabilia, that was it, and it was gone. So like honestly, here's the real criticism if you want to ask. The way how they handled merch felt very ROH-ish, where it's just like, here's what we got.
We got a bucket of t-shirts, 3 for $5.
Don't get it.
Well, that reminds me when ROH did the clearance sale before COVID that time.
Hey, that was a great time. That was a great time. I was like, let me get all those pins for $2.
Oh,
had to be there.
But, that was Final Battle, actually.
Yes.
There you go. We'll be talking about that later tonight. This year's iteration of Final Battle. So there you go. It all comes full circle. It all comes full circle.
What other questions you have? I'll be sure.
I guess I don't know. I mean, that was my main thing. Was like, what was the general vibe there? Just because, like I said, online there's so much doom and despair from some people about AEW, and then from their diehard fan base, they're like, no, everything's fine, it's all good. So it's like the being there in person, I think, gives you a much better perspective of like, no, what's the real reality of things as opposed to what we see on TV or what we see online. And it's a whole other thing to actually be there in the building for a TV taping and get the actual feel of things. Because listen, the main match I saw last night, I watched that Shelton Benjamin Beast Mordos match, and I thought the crowd was great during that. So I was like, if anything, the little bit I saw last night, I was like, it seemed like the DC crowd was, pretty hyped and pretty into things. And that's kind of what I've been hearing today. So it sounded like DC went pretty good for them compared to, there's been some of these towns recently where the crowds haven't been too great as far as like energy goes.
Yeah.
So how much of that is the show though? Because I mean, if you're bringing up a match, and I did see a little bit of it just to kind of get a feel of what it was like, even though I didn't go. I like how the segments kind of bled into another. So they would bring out one thing, and then they would have a post-match sequence, and then somebody would come and interrupt them, which would lead to the start of the next segment, and then it was kind of kept the crowd like, on their toes, kind of kept them up. It wasn't like there wasn't too many moments of downtime. In general, things kind of flowed into another versus another show where you take a commercial break with the crowd. And then the ring announcer has to come out and remind you that, all right, we got 90 seconds before we go back to air.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. We can do it, And that's not, those are two totally different things when you're like engaged already versus being told to cheer and be on TV because it's supposed to mean something. So, and then of course the show could just be better than a normal show. You're in the middle of the Continental Classic, which is a big deal. They're building towards a pay-per-view, which is a big deal. They're at Hammerstein on Collision, which gives people a reason to watch, which comes after the college football playoffs. So I don't know if that's taped or tape delayed. So maybe versus the Fairfax show, for example, which I totally don't remember that card or who or whatever. I don't even remember when it happened. But the long and short of it is that I would bet dollars to donuts that this show last night was just a flat out better show, considering that we are in the middle of a bunch of different hot storylines as they move towards the pay-per-view in about 2 weeks.
Let me ask this question, just overall, not just with AEW. I'm talking about WWE or any type of wrestling promotions. If we think about just the Washington, D.C. area, would we say our area top 10, top 15 as far as crowd energy for wrestling events, either TV or live, or where would you say we rank in this area?
Well, before you answer, let me just say, like, if you're a wrestler out there, indies, whatever, I don't care. I don't care how long you've been, let us know. Because we only hear what we hear from our section of the building.
Yep.
But let us know how important it is when you get into the ring and what you hear from the crowd. And is this area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, one of those areas that goes like, all right, we know we're going to get a hot crowd tonight? Because that would be interesting from someone that's actually in the ring. So if you're in the business no matter how small. Let us know, where we rank compared to other cities.
Yeah. We used to be real hot when we had things popping. I'll tell you that. So,
Yeah.
but I
Right.
don't know. I don't know. And then also too, I think like that's really there's really like perspective about that, because I think I would say like how you can easily say, oh, Chicago's one of the hottest, but like, what do you consider to be hot? Because obviously, if you go to as a fan, when you go to like certain games and certain sports, like for instance, like I know if I go to like, I've never been, but let's just hypothetically say like if you go to a Buffalo Bills game, you're gonna have a good rally before you get in there, and you're just gonna have a good time. You go to the Commanders game, like it's fine as long as you're not the Cowboys or whatever. It get a little hostile, but like if you go to like a Vegas game and the Raiders, it's gonna be wild because it's Vegas and it's the Raiders.
Football's a different animal. Whether it's college or the NFL, that you're going to tailgate. That those drunk yokels have been drinking since 8 a.m.
But that's my point, is that I feel like in some cities with wrestling, you got folks that's going to try to hijack the show. That's their whole thing. They're not there to enjoy. They there to get themselves over, and that's annoying to me. So one may consider it to be hot. Me find it unenjoyable.
But how is that any different than the dudes that go to Commanders game dressed up as pigs?
I mean, but they're still in celebratory of the team. I mean, I like going to New York for wrestling, because I think it's a very passionate city for wrestling, and they're all about the promotion of the events being good. And I think they also still are wanting to really like signify that they are the hottest wrestling city, although they don't get that claim. You'll get Philly and you'll get Chicago, but like you go to Chicago, it's honestly, it's like it's a whole nother character in the crowd.
As the crowd, the crowd is a character.
So,
I can see that.
So to answer that, like I said, like DC comes in, and I think that like we're very much in the very middle, lukewarm. We're excited for the things because we don't get the big pay-per-views, or when we get shows, we're happy to have it. But I don't think there's like this whole extra bit of energy in the crowd that's trying to take the show in our own hands. Like we don't make a statement of like, we're DC and we're the hottest, or like we're gonna be the most controversial or whatever. We're just happy to have the wrestling. And I will say this: when indie wrestling was hot here, I think we had to be within the top 5, because that was the comment that people wanted to come in this area because they knew we were going to pack every single indie show, no matter it was in this area, each and every week, and we became a destination. And that's why we got big names that came to our area. Big names, you're like, got Keith Lee in Virginia. What the hell?
Better times.
You know what I mean? But like, we're not going to pretend like West Virginia wasn't still there running shows the entire time. And were those wrestlers going in that direction? Probably not. So that's just my take. But yeah, nonetheless, because I know we got to go right for the next topic. Like, it was a good night. I didn't stay the entire time because the fatigue and whatever. But yeah, the fans that love whoever you love, they showed love too. MJF got heat. Mercedes Moné, she gets love. Anna Jay got love too. That was a pretty crispy match. And I will say that the pre-show was interesting. I will say it's criminal for Nyla Rose and Jordan Blade to get 4 minutes when they're both locals.
That's
and then you give Sir Pentico and what's his name? Is it Max? Is it Rich Holiday? I think his name is
Holiday. Yeah.
And you give them like 10? I'm like,
well, I mean, Sir Pentico is a draw, so
yeah, but he also was stalling. There was definitely a moment of them saying they had to be in his ear, like, hey, we need you to get us to the top of the show. It easily could have been Nyla Rose.
So they had 2 dark matches, or was this
3?
3 dark matches.
What was the third?
3. Sonam Singh and Aaron Solo.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
we
results
needed
right
that.
here.
Just bring me back dark already, God damn it! I mean,
you know what I mean? Because we needed that, and we had other local talent in the building. They all show up. We see them, we follow them, and whatnot. So like, I don't know. I just think like, yeah, if you really want to get the crowd hot without having to have Justin Roberts We have 5 minutes before we go live.
right.
4 minutes. Who's hype out there? Do you want the camera from? Like, get us hot by letting us watch the wrestling. Let the local talent do what they do. Honestly, if you want a true assessment, see how these people draw. It should be a no-brainer if you're from here. Honestly, that's a testament to your work. If you can get your hometown hot, you might be doing something right. Because if you can't get your hometown hot, you're definitely doing something wrong.
Yeah. You're going to have an uphill battle elsewhere. That's for sure.
You know. So yeah, that's my full take on that.
All right, there we go. See, we got more out of that than we brought this up earlier. You're like, I don't feel like talking about that show. And I was like, I just want to hear about the general atmosphere and what it was like there. That was my big thing. So we got a good time out of that. There we go. All right, here's what we'll do since we're 25 minutes in here. Let's take our halftime break now. So I'm not trying to wedge it in while we're doing other stuff. Are we going to talk WWE ID this week?
Yep.
Crab? Okay, we come back. We do the WWE ID segment. Then we'll talk Saturday night's main event. Ring of Honor Final Battle will close things out. All that coming right ahead, folks. Stay with us. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast will be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because, limited time offer here at biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com. Again, that is biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com, and let them know Damon G sent you.
Welcome back, folks, to your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. When we come out of our halftime break, our latest thing is checking out what's happening with the WWE ID program. So here's Giant Crab with this week's Big Gold Belt Podcast, WWE ID Spotlight.
As it is appropriate for the season, the 21st is the solstice, which means that winter is actually upon us. I came across my desk earlier today, a guy named Ice Williams. Interesting. He's a big guy, can jump out of the gym. A lot of the same tools that everybody has. But one thing I love about the guy, because half of wrestling is marketing, the other half is what you do in the ring. I think he has the best logo in wrestling. Like flat out. The merch sells itself. And as they're getting their WWE ID branded jumpsuits and leggings and t-shirts, he's wearing his Ice Williams merch. It looks cool. I want a t-shirt because it spells ice in the shape of a snowflake. Goddamn, that was creative. But Ice Williams himself has worked mostly for future stars of wrestling out of Vegas. He was definitely at he's done Rocky Mountain Pro. He actually was at did a little bit for Ring of Honor, did a little bit for AEW last year, back in late 2023. So he was the FSW champion for almost a year, and now he's been ID'd by the WWE. And with his set, his move set, with his his abilities that I'm seeing in ring, I can understand what they're looking at, because they already have a guy that has an idea of what the whole duality of wrestling is. He got the merch down, he's got the look down, he's got the work down. Now WWE needs to put that polish on there, back in the oven. He comes out in 6 to 9 months, and he's debuting on NXT. So one thing I like to look for to see, do you have a sizzle reel? Do you have something for the people? As we were being introduced.
Can I get in here real quick?
Go ahead.
Can I get in here real quick? Like, because you know, this is my guy right here.
Really?
Yeah, really. I have been dying to get out to Future Stars of Wrestling in Vegas, and Chris Bay is my guy.
Love Vegas,
get
man.
well soon. And I went out there one time, and Chris met me at the door. But when I was there, I said, like, there is a couple of folks that I'm absolutely interested to see, and obviously seeing Chris Bay then. But Lights Camera Fraction was this fraction that I said, I've been seeing nothing but insane things online, and collectively as a
that's Ice Williams and Joe Braxton.
Yeah, Braxton, Fresco, Ice Williams, and Braxton, Fresco, Ice Williams. Kenny King was with them for a little bit too, which was a nice extra rub that they got.
That's a great piece.
But yeah, listen. Let me tell you how I truly feel about the fraction altogether. With these sort of creator groups like RDC World and AMP, who we see as these collective units that just everybody gets the mission. That's how I feel about them when it comes down to independent wrestling and their whole branding, that they all collectively move and know exactly what they're trying to accomplish. And they have a swagger, and like they have a presence, and like they believe in what they put out. And, you know, obviously Ice getting the idea, I was like, first of all, long overdue. But like ultimately, I'm still thinking like, I can't wait for him to get wherever he's going to land, which now is the case is WWE. And I can't wait to see the group come along at some point, because there's so much potential within that group. But like, that's where I say, if you want to go and look and see this work, definitely take a look at the entire group, because they definitely have had some big matches. They work as like, and like, I don't know if this is like a great comparison, but like, you ever hear people talk about like a pack of wolves or a pack of hyenas? Like, that's kind of how they are. They collectively move in a way. They've all been champs, and not just champs at Future Stars of Wrestling, which they've been multiple times champs there, but also wherever they go, they're collecting gold. And I just to see them, and just to see one of them start to really get that attention, and what's that going to mean for the entire group. I think right now, if you've never heard of them, right now is the time to get on the bandwagon, because they're truly something special. And I think Ice, to all your sentiments, Jamal, is just really future talent that I think when we really evaluate him as a solo wrestler in 4 years, I think we're going to be like, holy hell, he took these 4 years. He made the best of them. I'm a firm believer of what that man is going to become.
And how old is he now? How old is Ice?
I don't know. I actually don't know. Let's see if I can look that up.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. He's been wrestling since 2018. So that's a smooth 6 years, but I don't have an age on him. Long Beach, California native. But what I will say is, if you want to check him out, live, do that in Vegas this coming Saturday, December 21st. FSW's having a show. It's Ice Williams versus Jack Cartwheel, which should be a lot of fun. Seasons beatings out there in Vegas. That's going to be live on Triller, powered by Fight, but it's for Future Stars of Wrestling out there in Las Vegas. If you want to check out Ice Williams himself, you can do so on his YouTube channel, Ice Williams. You know, so do that on the YouTube. You know, he just uploaded. Well, somebody just uploaded a match with his Rocky Mountain Pro debut 2 weeks ago. But Ice versus Alex Hammerstone, goddamn, that was a match that I remember from late last year. That was a lot of fun from FSW. But I get it. I see what they're looking into, and I'm not going to do the thing where like, well, he's going to be the next this, he's going to be the next that. Nah, he's going to be the first Ice Williams. You know, they are bringing this guy to the table, and I really can't wait to see what happens when they finally get the ball rolling on a lot of these guys. So, much respect to Ice Williams, and he's been ID'd by WWE. So we had to do a deeper dive on Ice Williams, and that is the WWE ID Spotlight for this week.
There we go. Each and every week we're putting out another one, and 2025 is going to be an interesting year to see where these Spotlight folks, where they end up and how they advance
Mhm.
throughout the calendar year. So we'll be keeping an eye on that for 2025 for sure.
I need
All
a
right,
merch link though. That's the only thing. I need a merch link. I need a shirt.
the sizzle reel and a merch link. That's what
Yeah.
we're looking for.
That's what
The
we're looking for.
The two essentials for your ID.
Oh, and Jamal, really quickly too. One thing you said about like WWE coming in putting in a little polish too. I also think like he has the build to go in whatever direction they think fits. I think he has shown a little bit of versatility in every facet in terms of the style of wrestling. So I'm beyond interested to see like ultimately where he's going to land in terms of what his move sets are going to be. So that's intriguing about the whole ID program is them being able to to spotlight talent and say, here's where we feel you'll best succeed at for the longevity of your career.
There we
Absolutely.
go. All right, let's switch gears. Saturday night's main event returned this past weekend. We were breaking it down last week, talking about what we were expecting for this show, how there was rumors of a retro feel for it, and my God, there was definitely a retro feel.
It was.
From the moment that thing came on. I mean, they were already pushing Animotion and Obsession in all the commercials. But they had the light up old school entranceway when the show came on. They had the red, white, and blue ropes in effect. They had the referees with the blue shirts and the black bow ties. They were definitely marketing this thing to the old heads out there. So, hey, I'm not going to complain. It definitely, tugged on some heartstrings as we were in this holiday season. That said, the show itself was, I saw a lot of different perspectives on this. A lot of people I saw were not happy with the commercials. And hey, it's network TV. It is what it is. I'm not sure why people were getting so worked up about that. Because I mean,
was it on
NBC.
television? Was it on
NBC.
television too?
NBC.
Oh, really?
Yep.
And they
I didn't know that.
They're doing just like how they're doing the stuff with the NFL. It's like still on network, but they're simulcasting on Peacock.
Yeah.
So you can watch it either way.
Oh, like the play. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
That kind of deal. So you can watch it on Peacock.
Hold on. So Will, so what was the commercials? I mean, Peacock commercials are typically localized to where you're from. So they weren't the same commercials. So that sort of
I think it was the main complaint was the number of commercials. Because it was like network. It was network TV commercials. For about every 8-9 minutes, you're going to get a commercial. It's how it is, especially in prime time. So, but that said, I thought this was an interesting show how they laid this out. Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn opened. Yeah, nothing really on this show went more than 10, 12 minutes. They tried to keep stuff around that mark. Everything went from 8 to 12 across the board. But very fast-paced show. Very bang, bang, bang. There's not a lot of downtime on here. 5 matches. Personally, I probably would have dropped that to 4 because it felt a little crammed in there.
For the main event?
Yeah. By the time they got to the main event, because I mean, there's that hard out come 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
They had to be out of there. So it's not like there was any overrun or anything like that. So I would probably have taken 1 match out, but I like that they mixed it. We had 2 women's matches, then we had title. I mean, we talked about last week. It was all title matches outside of the Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn match. I guess, hell, let's throw this out here first. Thoughts on Chelsea Green, first Women's United States?
Let me ask you, because we had a lot of talk time. What did you think about Chelsea Green being the inaugural champion?
At first, when we first announced this tournament, I didn't want her to get it first. I wanted her to get it second. I wanted someone else to set it up and kind of establish the title. Halfway through this tournament, it became clear that wasn't happening. Hell, there is something to be said for, hey, when someone has momentum, just go with it. Strike while the iron's hot. And I guess that's what they did here, because that crowd ate it up. It's working to a T. She's put it all out on social media. So now that it's here, I can't argue against it. I mean, it's working like gangbusters. Do you
think you said when she started heating up, do you think the fans had anything to also do with this decision? Because we talked about it, but
the way they're responding, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the thing. She's engaging with that audience. The audience is like what's raising her up. It's like, she's doing tremendous work, but the crowd's completely buying into it. Folks are eating up her shtick. And as a wrestler, there's nothing more you can ask for than that. So, no, the timing, it is what it is. It was. I can't argue with it. So, hey, Chelsea Green, U.S. champ, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, and let me ask you something because, with the aesthetic, with them obviously bringing back that that old school aesthetic. What did you think about the enhancements of where we're at technological wise? That's just inevitable in terms of the production, like old school aesthetic, but you're definitely not getting one by one ratio. You're getting 1080 or 720 on your television. But then also they introduced rev cam, like, which was sometimes like, all right, well this takes away the idea that we're really trying to hit the nostalgia because this is too modern, So what did you think about the mix of that with the production?
Oh no, well, there was very much, they're doing all these old school retro, twists on things, but the show itself, the wrestling and the wrestlers on it was all modern WWE. So I think they were very much smart about it, where it's like, okay, we're gonna have all these little nuances and flourishes of retro stuff that catch these old folks' eyes watching on NBC. But once they're watching the show, it's not like they were trying. They had like Tito Santana there, Coco Beware, but it's not like they had them trying to do a match. It was like, no, when it came time for the wrestling, it was all modern, new school WWE. So it's very clear they were promoting the current product throughout the entire show, just with that little shine on it, the little old school tricks and stuff. So, but I think that's what we need to do, because it's not like you're going to be doing that every darn week. It was just an interesting, different look for the show. Is what it is.
Okay.
I kind of felt like, let me add this real quick. It kind of felt like when you were looking at the show, how you see today's NFL games and they wear their throwback uniforms, and it's uniforms from like the 90s or the 80s, but it's still colored up to what it is now. That's how I felt. So it was a good blend of, yes, we're in 2024 going into 2025, but you still felt that classic feel like you did from the 80s.
I will. What did you think about Jesse the Body Ventura?
Okay. So Jesse, beginning of the show, I was a little worried. I was worried if he was going to be able to keep up, and he was going to be able to hold it down, because they very much had him just kind of like in a host role, and had him out there with Joe Tessitore. It almost felt like he was like on a leash, where it was just like, he got a little too crazy. Joe Tess was going to reel him in, But then when they brought him out for the main event, it seemed like once he got in that space, was like, we're going to put you in your old role. You're going to call the main event. That's when I felt it was like everything fell into place.
Yeah.
Early part was a little rough when he was just kind of guest host, brought out there as like, a little as a gimmick. But in the main event, I thought he was tremendous. And Cody and KO, that's a whole nother discussion here as far as that main event goes. We talked a lot last week about how it really felt like Kevin Owens had a damn good chance of coming out of there as champ and winning the title. And they didn't do it, but in some ways they did, apparently, with where they're going with this thing. So to talk about the main event, so Cody Rhodes wins, retains the title. The cameras go off. It ends up kind of like classic Saturday Night's main event. Hogan wins. He keeps the title. He beat up someone with a chair, did some kind of chicanery, but no one cares because, the good guy wins. And then the cameras go off, and then we find out immediately on social media, oh, they weren't done. Yeah. We get our first package pile driver in WWE. Cody gets stretchered out. KO leaves with the Winged Eagle Championship.
Has it really been the first ever?
I think so.
I believe it is.
Who's that, a package pile driver in WWE?
I know it was Toni Storm's finisher, but she never brought that to WWE. I knew that. Yes, the Storm Zero did not make it to WWE, but did Kevin Owens never do it?
No.
And we're just talking about main roster. I know it had. I know they had to do it on NXT at a takeover.
No, because his most deadly move in WWE's been that the power bomb on the apron. On the side of the apron.
Yep.
That's been his kill shot.
Yep.
They haven't allowed no pile drivers.
The Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn rivalry, the package pile driver never.
I don't think it did. I don't think it did.
No.
Damn.
Just like the powerbomb, like Will said, powerbomb on the side of the apron or the pop-up powerbomb, that was it. I mean, more recently, yes, the stunner, but nothing like that.
I'm baffled. I know it's a very almost sacred band, but yet sacred move. I definitely thought in the heated rivalry of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens that, like, that was a featured thing. And then they were working with each other for years. So it's like, if anybody could trust them to execute it the right way, there you go. But interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But see, I think that adds to the effectiveness because the pile driver's been straight up banned for so long that now they uncork this thing. It's instant death. Cody gets stretchered out. Cody got hit, Superman Doomsday, Cody gets stretchered out of it.
Randy was first.
There you go. So it's like it's instant kill shot. So apparently now what they're doing is KO has the old winged eagle. He's proclaiming himself real world champion.
Yeah, I love
Cody
it.
has not been seen yet. So in some ways, Kevin Owens did become champion. So we'll see where they go with that. But I don't. So let's get in here. The thoughts on Cody and Kevin Owens, the way this played out.
It was just interesting that the effects of the power driver happened after the show went off air. I kind of wish it happened while the show was on air. Because remember last week we was talking,
is it because they don't want to display the power driver? Is that a thing?
Maybe so. But we was talking last week that we wish it was something that was a mega moment on national TV, on Peacock, where you was like, wow, this gets me hooked in wrestling again. Maybe for that casual fan that just turned on NBC and said, oh, I'm looking at wrestling. And I think we wanted Kevin Owens to win.
You don't think Cody's sleazy win is also not a big moment per se?
Not necessarily for me. Maybe somebody else will feel the same way. For me, it wasn't. But I think those moments would have happened if Kevin would have won. I think that would have been a moment. But I also think if you would have had that power driver as a retrospect happen on TV, it would have been like, oh my God, that happened. And then it's like, okay, tune in next time when you see blah, 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 blah. And that could have been that to be continued that I think could have been a bigger effect on live TV versus how you saw it on social media. I just think, once again, the show did what it had to do. It's not a premium line event. They tried to glorify it in a way, but it was a network TV show that was a little higher scale than a Raw or SmackDown, but it was still a television show. But I think it would have been great if you would have had that effect, like, boom, this is where we are, turn it next time, we got you.
I say to counter that, this is exactly what they're using social media for, because you don't know what's real and what's not. You don't know. And then, of course, we saw the video, fan video, and then, of course, we see later on WWE official video where, he's squaring up with the officials, Triple H is involved, and it's a whole thing. So in that moment, in the instant flashpoint knee-jerk reaction that social media is nowadays, we don't know what's going on versus, oh, no, they did a banned move on scripted TV. This guy is evil. Versus, oh, shit, he hit him with a power driver. Did Cody take the move right? Did Kevin? Is he really injured? There's a lot more of a gray area because we're not getting the official word. We're just getting a literal bird's eye view from Section 208 of what's going on, and then of course the internet rumor mill is going to speculate and run wild until 30 minutes later WWE comes out and goes with the official video, and it's a work. So I think especially in this age of social media, WWE is absolutely playing that card correctly to keep the buzz after the fact going because they can't pay NBC for more TV time. That's not an option. So how do you keep the conversation going after the fact? You do a thing after the bell, the word gets out, the people are still talking about it, and then they can address it officially because they have official video. It's canon now. Yep. But then that leads you to to Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, whatever they want to go after that. But the point is that they got an opportunity to keep the conversation going well after the show. And since that was Saturday, that conversation definitely spilled over into Sunday and possibly Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also too, I think we have to put value into what social media is as a machine itself, but also what they've been able to build as their social media platform, millions of followers across all of it. So why not go into overtime on something that's also as lucrative and as beneficial for you? The only thing I will say is, man, I would love for them to be able to execute endings on a cliffhanger note in the very middle of whatever the event is, where you really don't know what's going to happen, and you instantly have to run over to social media to say, oh my god, like what happened, like where we at with that. So I thought that execution was fun, and I think that they're going to be going back to Saturday night's main event again, and I think now they're going to take a look into the feedback, and I think the next one's going to be even better. So I'm definitely excited for it.
Yeah, and we won't have long to wait to find out. So hell, the weekend before Royal Rumble is going to be the next show.
Yeah.
So it'll be here before we know it. And hell, like I was saying that night, I was like, I think the purpose thing to do would run back on that show. I was like, well, if Kevin Owens is going to win the title, hell, have him lose it back on the next Saturday night's main event. I wouldn't be surprised. The way this plays out, I would not be surprised if they run back Cody and Kevin Owens on the next one at the end of January. And they just run it back again, both belts out there, do the whole thing. Because hell, Royal Rumble's have enough going on the following weekend. They don't need to have those two have the match at Royal Rumble. Have it on Saturday night's main event. Spread it out. So we'll see come the end of January.
Yep.
All right. So this weekend, we mentioned it earlier. Old AEW is they're taking over the Hammerstein Ballroom this weekend. They got 3 nights there: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But it all starts Friday. It all starts tomorrow night with Ring of Honor Final Battle happening at the Hammerstein. And then the next night they're doing Collision there, and then they're taping Dynamite for the following week on Sunday. So packed weekend there at a very famous venue in New York City. But boy, we talk a lot. We make a lot of comments on this show about the paywall of honor and Ring of Honor and just the state of what it is in 2024. So here we are at their, this is their biggest show of the year. Final Battle is historically their biggest event. And we're sitting here with let's just go right to the top of the card here with Chris Jericho is your current Ring of Honor champion, and he is going to be defending against Matt Cardona. That is your Final Battle main event in 2024. And from the moment that was announced, I was just kind of like, what are we doing here? that is just I don't know what to think of it at all. I'm going to throw that out there first. What feelings on this main event as your ROH World title match? Yeah.
I mean, all right. So I'll say this. I'm Chris Jericho. He's been doing this for a long time. We all get it. Now it's his time to elevate people. But I would like to see Matt Cardona be elevated where he works his way, somehow back to WWE. I don't know when that's going to happen, if that's going to happen. But I feel like I'm still rooting for Matt just to get that moment where he can still get the justification, what he did years ago when YouTube was just coming out and everybody was promoting the stuff he was doing YouTube with this other character. I really think he just needs to have that moment where he can be that guy. Now, when can we see him be that guy? And I know he's done his ups and downs and different promos in the indies and stuff like that, but I just want him to have that moment where you're elevated to be just that guy. And maybe I'm just rooting for him for so long for that, but I'm just waiting for it.
Honestly, hot take incoming. Honestly, it's working. GCW is by far will always still be a bigger deal than whatever he can accomplish here in ROH. Like it's just that for it. Like I understand the idea of purchasing ROH. I'm pretty sure, and I've said this many of times, that like ROH has always been like a I forget the terminology I used, but like when you have a project car and you buy another car to pick all the parts off of in order to make your car run. So that's all that's been, and now that you have a shell there, you're like, oh, anybody want to buy this? Like, no, there's no more parts on here. There's nobody. It's all stripped down. So nothing about ROH is appealing. Now, here's what I do think. Because I know we've been giving a lot of flack about Jericho, but you have to understand 2 things. Jericho and his relationship with AEW, and yet Tony Khan is very different from everybody else's. His contract, I'm sure, while he doesn't have a nice shiny title next to his name, he's operating as if he does. He plays by his own rules. When AEW got on the board, do y'all remember who the first champion was? It was Mr. Chris Jericho.
And why? The name value.
Exactly. The notoriety, the establishment. You think him being on ROH is because he's just trying to collect belts and just pat his resume? What does it matter at this point? I think, again, there was another attempt to see if there was any value or stock for ROH. Go ahead and put Jericho at the top of it because the appeal. Now, obviously, that didn't go anywhere. Yeah, they got their max deal, but still nothing to do and deal with ROH. So now at this point, ROH was just a failed attempt to use additional content to package the deal to garner a bigger deal, and it never happened because we also know that with the Max deal wasn't the deal that we all thought it was going to be, because Max now has stake in AEW, which means that we'll give you something, but we're also taking something this time. So and ROH has nothing to do with this, and I also think the Chris Jericho attempt to legitimize them also didn't do anything. So when it comes down to Matt Cardona and the Super Indies show of ROH, again, all his work that he's done in GCW way past supersedes whatever he's going to do at that. ROH is a dead issue at this point, and that's just what it is. Let's not pretend like we care anymore. It's a wrap. The time has passed. Poor Athena, get her off of there right now. Get her off of there.
2 years is camp. 2 years.
Get her off of there.
You think she thinks she loses the women's title to Billy Starks?
Please get her out of there. Get her out of there. If she doesn't end up on in AEW as a weekly featured thing, then I don't know. But then again, they got world-class talent in ROH that we know could be some of the best wrestlers in the world if given the right opportunity. So we'll be having the same conversation about that, I'm sure, in the next few months. But I digress.
I'm gonna make this quick because we're a little bit pressed for time. If Athena versus Billy Starks doesn't close the show with Billy Starks finally getting her win and ending, Ring of Honor in 2024 and going into 2025, then I really don't know what they're doing there. As far as the company goes, you're absolutely right. As the whole Ring of Honor experiment and the reason why you would care, and it's the paywall of honor and all that good stuff too.
Yeah.
So that's all a non-issue. My thing is Ring of Honor, ironically, has the roster that I want to watch. They have the matches that I want to see. And I'll be goddamned if I have to go and tunnel under the paywall of honor to see it. Because there's so much potential there that they should be bigger than they are, that they should be more important than they are, and yet they are, stuck behind the paywall. And that's really what it sounds like. It really feels like the closet, the island of misfit toys. This is where Woody went when Andy didn't want to play with him anymore. He put him in the toy box and it said Ring of Honor on it. And you have, like, looking at the card, you have not Dustin and Sammy Guevara, but QT is on the show. So I will be watching Final Battle regardless of what happens.
Jay Lethal.
But QT versus Jay Lethal is a match that I want to see. Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch. These are two women that should be mainstays in AEW, should be, not in Ring of Honor. Lee Moriarty is another guy that should not be in Ring of Honor. Obviously, Jericho versus Matt Cardona sounds like a pretty good match on Rampage, but it shouldn't be the Ring of Honor co-main event. Athena versus Billy Starks should be happening on Dynamite. I mean, like, why is that not happening on Dynamite? And even in the pre-show, Harley Cameron, who is doing a hell of a job, coming out and coming into her own.
Damn, just to get over one way or another.
Yeah, Harley Cameron versus Hanako from Stardom is a match that I kind of want to see. It's not going to be, the hard-hitting Stardom match that I think it should be, but obviously it's going to be a lot of fun. So the card itself is actually pretty solid. And, we live in the DC area, and only 1 out of the 4 went to Dynamite last night. And it's not necessarily because we couldn't, because the Wolves were stopping us from getting to the door. It's just because the show looked meh. They didn't advertise anything super special.
Nope.
And I didn't want to be in Congress Heights at 11 o'clock. But if Final Battle were coming to town, QT notwithstanding, this is a show that I want to see. And unfortunately, you can't find it. It's not a pay-per-view.
Honestly, it's
Gotta get
just,
the paywall.
I get that you want to get a check with any and every bit of your content. Who doesn't?
Sure. Yeah.
But like, we don't need to be wiping the dust off of our scramblers in order to access Ring of Honor. Like,
you went back with that.
it
one.
just shouldn't
My
be like
God.
that. And I know everybody could talk about like, yeah, well, you just go there and you subscribe. Da. I get that. I get it. All seriousness, I get it. But this should be more readily accessible and should be more heavily promoted and shouldn't feel like the black sheep of the family. It should be on par with Dynamite based on the talent, based on the prestige of the name, based on the matches, and then based on your damn champions at this rate too. Love or hate Chris Jericho, he's still a name, so he should be treated as a mainstay feature that you should be able to confidently know that you can find that without searching high and low, burying the tunnel, crossing the border.
This is the question. Why is Rampage more accessible than Ring of Honor?
Good point.
I mean, that's really where I am. There's no way that you're going to convince me that Rampage should be more easily accessible than this card right here on Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
Stop.
Rampage has an hour of national television, so there you go.
Put it on at 2
right.
in the morning. I mean, come on. Tell Jay Lethal to sell some more knee braces.
Hey, I know we got to wrap too, but like, listen. Why don't they just alternate ROH shows on that slot?
It'll make
at some
sense.
point of the 4 weeks of a month. Why not make ROH just one of those nights?
It will make sense.
What's the if it's a network thing, then why not still make it a Rampage with it just being Rampage of Honor special show, and you just got all the ROH storylines flowing through it? Why not? Why not?
And we know that they can't do it because they did it for Dark.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, you're telling me that they can't tell storylines over the course of a month in like a couple tapings. We know that they can. They did it for Dark.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of like, it has to be something more legally blinding with Warner Brothers and them only wanting AEW products because, again, separate company, blah, blah, blah. But
Warner Brothers is in the AEW business, not the ROH business. I think it's as simple as that. Anyway.
And if you try to sneak in ROH, then they're going to be in the hurt business because they don't want that shit. They don't have TV.
No pun intended.
All right.
Long live Sinclair Network.
All right, since we got the boss man here this week for what you watching this week, I have a question for you. I'm gonna throw this at you for what you watching this week. There was a trailer that dropped this morning. Thoughts on the Superman trailer?
Very big bowl of meh for me. I am not
really.
I love the score or the theme so far. I love the theme, and for what it is, I mean, like I think, like, you know, being able to show other characters, other heroes already established, and just kind of throwing us in the midst of things. I think that's cool. But for me, I'm not overly hyped. I needed to see it. I don't think the trailer gave me enough to say like, holy hell, like this is it. But I will say this though, I was a big Man of Steel fan. I thought the movie was good. I know it's an unpopular opinion, and it has nothing to do with the greediness or whatnot. I like that story of Superman. So it's not one versus the other. It's just saying that, like, from that to this, I didn't see anything that really was like, this is radically different. So big bowler, man. We'll see what happens in July if it continues the same bit of excitement and hype for folks. July is going to be a busy month because something else comes out in July.
Fantastic.
I can't remember. Is it Fantastic Four? I think. Yeah.
Fantastic Four. Right around. They moved it from, I think, July 4th to around when Comic-Con is for San Diego.
I don't know if Disney moved, but listen, Galactus, sign me up for that all day, every day.
Okay.
And Doom is potentially going to be in it. It's not even close, which one I'm more excited for. It's not even close.
Anything else on the website you want to plug real quick?
God damn it, Sonic! Y'all better go see that movie. It's so good. It is.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to say
this. Now, be honest. How much did they pay you to say that?
Not a damn thing. And honestly, if they did, great, because that would have been the easiest way. That would have been the easiest pocket change ever, because I am wholeheartedly standing on it is so damn good. So
Good.
damn good.
I wanna
My
see
my
this
take
weekend.
about it. This is not the take I released. So this is the take I'm gonna just say for the show. For you anime fans out there, if you remember that time back on good old Planet Namek, where we had one of the most insane battles of all time, and our good old friend Goku, man, that's all I'm giving. But that same feeling at the end of that battle when Goku did what he did, because if I give too much, you probably know exactly where this is going with Sonic. Same feelings, same butterflies, same
Okay.
excitement. It is that third act is completely out of a page of an anime, and it is
Well,
insane.
I'm only giving you flack for it because I know that people have been reaching out to you about the fact that like you're a shill for Paramount and you were paid to
and
the movie
Disney
star
and Disney apparently
and Disney apparently. So
Yeah.
so hey, number one, congratulations. Number two, you share the wealth. And number three, Sonic 4 is already being greenlit for 2027. So even though yes, the checks in the mail, somebody must have liked it enough to say, all right, we're going to wrap this for a fourth one. So we got more movies than games now.
Yes.
In the whole in the original run. So
technically
ones, yeah.
no, because it's been so many variations of these Sonic games, but not a Sonic 1, 2, 3, 4. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Oh
There
yeah,
you go,
I mean there've
folks.
been Sonic games for 30 years, so yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That means you need to get over to biggoldbelt.com to check out the Sonic 3 review.
Sonic 3 review, Mufasa review, they're both on there. Doctor Who review is on there, the Christmas special. So yeah.
There you
Check it
go.
out.
Big Gold Belt Media has you covered. BigGoldBelt.com will plug the website first tonight. So, folks, we are wrapping it up. Here we go. I'm going to run down everything each and every Thursday night. I don't know what we're doing next Thursday. We're going to figure that out. But Thursday nights, 8 p.m. is when we stream live here at BigGoldBelt.com. On the web, geez, we got all this going here. Let me break it all down on social media. So, of course, streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, over on X. Got the live stream happening on all those platforms. The video feed lives on YouTube afterwards. If you're interested in the podcast version, that drops shortly thereafter on all your favorite podcast platforms. So we got you covered, whether it's audio or video. Of course, on social media, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board, whether we're talking X, Instagram, or Blue Sky. Big Gold Belt, you can find us at all of those. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, BigGoldBelt.com. The website, your home for Big Gold Belt media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. All that good stuff. So whether we're talking Sonic or we're talking wrestling, we got you covered in all the different ways. Folks, we are getting close to the holidays. So next week, we'll see what's going on. Might be a taped episode to fill the week, but got something coming next week. And then, of course, after this, I think all eyes turn to Netflix. So a big end of the year, start to January coming. Lots of stuff going to be happening over the next couple weeks, folks. We'll have it all for you right here with your friends at Big Gold Belt. All right, folks. See you next week. Talk to you later. Get ready for the holidays, and we'll talk to you then.